is so deficient of nutrients that you can't keep doing this to yourself. It was like I was burning so many calories, and my fat percentage had gotten so low that my body wasn't able to replenish enough. And, it took those times of, yes, I was suffering, a lot of pain, but I found a way to get out of that. And I will say that it was my mindfulness practice and meditation in particular, but I'm just going to use mindfulness right now as a broad term, because I do more than just meditate when it comes to the lifestyle changes that I made.
So that is... that is so absolutely amazing. I love that story. I really could hear it a bazillion times. And every time it just makes me smile, because everybody has a certain concept of how success looks. Mm-hmm. And each person's vision of success is different. And as yours has evolved as well from how it used to look. And the one that you had really is the American dream for a young up-and-coming executive. Think how many people in Chicago, New York, Philadelphia, Cleveland, Columbus, Detroit, any big city, they have that same exact mindset. And chances are some of them are going through the same physical ailments that you went through.
Oh, I'm sure. Especially the thyroid disease in women.
Right.
And it's interesting.
It's huge.
Over the last couple of months, I've actually heard of 2 males that have been diagnosed with IBS. Usually it's the women that are sharing this with me, but on these journeys of traveling, I've, got in conversation with men too that are starting to suffer from that. And it's just, it makes me so sad. And I'm not saying that I'm in perfect health, that there's still things that I'm working on. But I think the one thing that I've realized is that we are literally working ourselves to death. Mm-hmm. And it's really sad now when I see people, modeling the behavior that I used to do. Because, you're a coach and you teach law of attraction and, energy. And I started to realize I don't have to work that hard to really get what I want. But I had to define what that was, because I didn't realize the power of my thoughts and being able to get what I want. I didn't sit there and say, I want to have a radio show. I think I had maybe thought about podcasts before, and that is an avenue, because I felt like I had a message. And I'm just so passionate about getting my story out there and my message so that people can start to drive change in their lives now. Because it takes a lot of years, I've been doing this for several years now, to actually recover from the damage that we have done from sending our bodies into fight or flight 8 to 14 times a day is what the research is. Our bodies don't even get to recover.
Exactly. And that's why female, you talk about IBS being mostly female. Look at heart disease. That was almost 100% male until 1997, I think. All of a sudden it skyrocketed, and it was after women had been in the workplace for so many years that I can't remember the statistics now. But we are as we grow up, we are taught these things, and your generation has things to unlearn, as does my generation and generations before us. And as we evolve, I think that we'll be using more of our brain, but we have to evolve. And that happens with each person's personal evolution as well. And had you not gone through what you went through and took the steps to get where you are now, you would not be as empathetic.
Absolutely.
Or able to address all the things that people your age are going through. And it's not just your age. It's people my age went through it. People in between us went through it. And it's like a truth is a truth. Slow down.
Yeah. I'm only 32. I had shingles when I was 20 years old in college.
And that's unheard
crazy.
of.
Yeah. And it's becoming more prevalent, and the rise in mental health is just so ridiculously scary, Deb. It's we're more connected than ever via technology, but yet we are so disconnected as a human race. And I think that I realized that's what I was yearning for. That was, I think, part of my spiritual unrest, is that I was looking for connection with people. And there were a lot of things that I did to help get that feeling back for me. And it's, yeah, I don't even really know. It's like the numbers are there. All the science is there that medicine is great. Western medicine is great. I think there's a place for it. Absolutely. But I also think that there's a huge place for all of these ancient teachings. And meditation for me doesn't have anything to do with a religion. Right. It really isn't. And mindfulness is really just, Jon Kabat-Zinn defines it as paying attention on purpose in the present moment and non-judgmentally, which I think is such a huge key word in his definition.
Because we all judge every thought.
Absolutely. Everything. I mean, even this morning during my meditation, I'm, thinking about coming on the show today and what are the things that I want to say. And, I'm judging things and I'm making up these stories of how it could potentially go or what if I say the wrong thing. And I'm just sitting here and then I always start laughing when I notice myself doing that, right? It's like nobody's perfect. Even if you're a mindfulness coach, you're still going to have these types of thoughts, right? That's just how it works. But I noted it, and I smile now when I note those types of things instead of getting mad at myself, because it's all about the non-judgment. And if I continue to judge, it's probably going to continue just to send my body into fight or flight, and I just don't want to do that anymore.
Right. Yes. Everything that you said is so true. But on a side note, the only bad thing about a radio program is dead air, and so far we're good.
All right.
So, yeah, wow. I'm almost overwhelmed by your story, because my story is so much longer because I'm older, but I'm glad you're finding all this stuff out now.
Me too.
It's so important that there be people of every generation that are like you, that have a similar story, that have been on one side of the bridge and are now on the other, and so much happier on this side. Because I think that when you realize that you have a purpose, all that stuff that was on that other side of the bridge helped you get to this side.
Yeah, and I wouldn't change it for a world.
Right.
For the world.
Even though it was painful and horribly depressing at times, you must have been totally down, not only on yourself because you didn't know what was going on or what you were doing wrong, but just because you were young and trying to do all this stuff at once.
Yeah, and people are like, you're naturally such a happy person, and I do think that I am, but inside I was covering up so much because of the roles that I played, in my personal life and in my work life, of always, especially I was leading HR teams, always having to show up like everything's okay, I'm putting out fires here, but you're calling me over here, and I don't even have time to sit at my desk to do my works, but that's okay, I'm here for you. What do you need? Come sit in my office for a 20-minute therapy session. And I was happy. I'm so grateful for everything that happened, because it has gotten me here, sitting in this chair, talking to you on a radio show where I can reach thousands and thousands of people to share my story. And I committed to myself, Deb, when I said yes to you, that I would be nothing but vulnerable and honest and truthful with all of the listeners on my feelings and my emotions and the struggles that I'm going through. Because the one thing that I've noticed and I knew about myself was that I was scared to ask for help. I was scared to admit that I was starting therapy. I was scared to admit that I was on this journey of God knows what, potentially quitting my job and not having benefits and not having income because of how I might be judged.
Say?
Exactly.
Yes.
How are people going to judge me? This isn't right. You're 30 years old and you're having your midlife crisis. Well, yeah, but I'm thankful I had it. And this all started it's been going on my entire life, but it wasn't until I was about 29 when a lot of things just started to come. I don't want to say crumbling down because that sounds so dramatic, but when I think back to it and where I'm at today, even putting in my notice, Deb, this is a great example. When I put my notice into my boss last September, I remember thinking about it for months, and I couldn't even look at him the same way because him and I had such a good relationship. It was like I was carrying this lie, and it was like I finally sat down to tell him, and the way that he responded was in the most gracious and loving and kind way. And I remember walking away from that conversation thinking, holy shit, I just spent the last several months worried about how this is going to go.
You had it
and
all
this is how he
built up
responded.
in your mind.
Totally. I made up this story. And even even I was there for almost another 6 months because I literally loved the environment that I was in, and I loved my boss, and so I wanted to be there to support them. But it was so, I laugh now at how much I worried about that conversation, and just think about all of the things that I've done throughout my entire life that I've actually done, not even in that type of a situation, when I was playing sports, when I was in school, in relationships, of all the times I stressed myself out. And so now I am choosing to approach life with the,
right.
It happened. What are we going to do about it now? Yes, there are just times when I'm judging things and I'm complaining, but I try to catch myself because at the end of the day, it happened and I want to live more in the present moment. And I think that's, people ask me, well, how do people respond to that? Well, I don't. Sometimes I care and sometimes I don't. But the reality is that more times than not, I don't care because I know what makes me happy and I know what fills me up now. And stressing about things that are going to happen, several months from now and things that happened in the past, I'm just trying not to even work myself up about. And just like this, now I've been back home since last Thursday, and it's like people are asking, well, what are you going to do now? And I'm like, I don't really know. I need to start making income, and I know the things that I want to do. And I know it's going to take time to build it, but I'm just putting my entire trust in the divine that he or she is going to give me what I need to survive, and that things will just happen and unfold however they're supposed to be. Because now I know that every time I tried to control what I wanted to happen in my life, it was a struggle. And when I stopped doing that, all of these things started happening. And they were in a much more beautiful form than I would have ever anticipated and that I would have even ever created myself. Even how I got the name Something Beautiful for my website was, I literally woke up, got out of bed, and the song by Need to Breathe came on, and it was Something Beautiful, and it was just like my intuition freaked out about it, and I was like, that's it. That's the name of this company. That's what I'm going to call my website. And it was literally that morning I got on and bought the domain, like within 10 minutes of waking up.
See, you trust yourself.
Yeah.
And you trust your intuition, which is, we dismiss our intuitions way too often. And sometimes our intuition takes better care of us than we do consciously.
Yeah.
Because did you ever have this happen to you that you were supposed to be somewhere at a certain time and something happened, like you forgot something and maybe you had to turn around and go back or whatever. And then on your way to be there, you knew you were going to be a couple minutes late, but it was okay. There was a big accident. Or one day there was a bunch of deer in the middle of the road, and I forgot my lunch, and I'm trying to eat raw for lunch. So I went home to get it, and I knew I was going to be like maybe 5 minutes late, and I texted the person, I was going to be a little late, and there in the middle of the road when I turned, there were deer running across. Had I been just a minute earlier, those deer would have ran right into they didn't care.
Yeah.
They would have ran right into my car. I thought, whoa, shoot, thanks.
Yeah. I've had so many things happen, especially in these last 8 months of traveling. And hopefully the stories will start to show up in my blog, because some of them are actually really funny. Just crazy experiences that, either I fell into or when I was traveling with friends that we fell into, the people that I met who you just end up having the most beautiful and amazing conversations with. Yes, it gets to the point where you can't just say that's a coincidence.
Right,
that's a coincidence.
right.
Like when people use the word coincidence now, it's like, no, I think in my head, okay, synchronicity.
Right, there are no
coincidences.
coincidences. That right.
Right? And I, as far as like how you use that word, I think for me, as I'm becoming more in tune with my body and trying to listen to my intuition, people always say, well, how do you know? And like for me, it's like, I don't know. I just know, like, sometimes my body gets goosebumps, or sometimes the feeling just like, resonates throughout my entire body. Like, I don't know. It's sometimes I don't really know. And I make the wrong decision and I turn left instead of turning right. But the cool thing is that now I know that I am a conscious